Hi, I'm Steve Darrow, guest host tonight for this special edition of the Republican Roundtable. I want to thank you for watching us tonight because we bring you leaders running for office this November from 3 different congressional candidates. With us in this 3-part segment, we have Sharna Wahlgren running for Congress from the Congressional District 4. Then in the middle part of our segment, you'll see Zavier Bicott running for House Bloomington 50B. And then followed by a recap where we bring back CD5 congressional candidate Doug Daggett to bring us up to date on some key issues that have arisen since last month's episode. With our segments here, we have congressional Republican board members as well to bring in the synergy and show you tonight how this is a team effort to win this November. So I first start off with Jake Schneider. Jake, thank you so much for coming and being a guest on our show tonight.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm the executive director of the Minnesota College Republicans. We have 21 chapters at colleges and universities across the state. And we have about 4,000 members who are on our email list. They help us out at activity fairs and things like that. And our primary goal is to get Republican leaders elected in the districts that we live in. We're located all across the state, and we are really excited about what we're doing here in 2014 to work to get leaders from the Republican Party elected all across the state. So thanks for having me, and it's great to be here. Looking forward to discussing what we're doing.
Great. And so one thing I've noticed, because I'm on the Young Republican board myself, you're on the College Republican board, and I actually am a member still of the College Republicans because I just finished my schooling at University of Minnesota for graduate school.
Okay.
So I'd like to ask, how can we get our peers, and the millennial generation to get inspired, and what are some key issues that the candidates who are running for office should pay attention to make sure they get the College Republican votes?
Sure. Well, it's a little bit of a unique opportunity. We as college students, primarily our single issue is, are we going to get a job after we leave college? Is the investment that we are putting toward college worth it? And we're finding that a lot of times it's not. People are still on their parents' couch, they're still in their parents' basement, and they're finding that all the money that they spent to get a 4-year degree isn't paying off. And so we're trying to make people realize that maybe the policies that are currently in place aren't working. And that's a message that's been pretty well received in our campuses.
Well, that's a key message, and that's why I'm so happy that we're here tonight with Sharna Wahlgren. Sharna, you're running for the Congressional District 4 to beat Betty McCollum this fall. We're very excited, and those issues that Jake just mentioned are part of your key agenda. So why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and what got you interested in running for Congress?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Thank you
it's a
so
wonderful
much.
Opportunity. Well, I grew up on the east side of St. Paul, in the heart of the 4th District, and have lived there basically my whole life. So it's a district that I care about. My community means a lot to me. And I think as many others look around at Congress, we feel like we could do better. And so instead of complaining, I'm not much of a complainer, really. I wanted to do something. And I have an undergraduate degree from the University of Minnesota in economics and a law degree from there as well. But I'm focused on those economic issues, and I think this is a time when the majority of us are focused on economic issues. Jobs matter to everyone, particularly, I know, to millennials and their parents and grandparents who are worried about them. But everyone needs not only a job, but a good job. So it's one of my core issues that I'm focused on is how do we help create that environment where we can have good jobs for everyone, not just some, but everyone. That middle class really needs to be sustained and fulfilled. And so I'm focused on that as one of my top 3 issues, really.
Great. And what are you doing on the campaign? How's the campaign going for this fall? Trying to bring that message to voters that normally don't go to the polls.
Oh, it's going wonderfully well. Thank you for asking. It's been a lot of fun. I'm reaching out to a lot of people throughout the district. And what people don't realize is that, or they don't think about perhaps, is that in 2012, the 4th Congressional District was significantly redistricted. And so we brought in a bunch of what had been in the 6th District. What was then Michelle Bachmann's district is now part of the 4th. Washington County areas such as Woodbury and Stillwater and Afton. Yep. And part of the 4th was moved into John Klein's 2nd District. So we've really strengthened the opportunity in the 4th forth, and we haven't seen this kind of opportunity for a long time. So I think people are reinvigorated and inspired to know that their efforts could really, truly make a difference this fall. And I think generally people are tired of incumbents and feeling like Congress needs to do better than it's doing, and we need some fresh voices, some fresh enthusiasm, fresh ideas to really break the gridlock, work across the aisles, and get some things done. So people are excited, but my first message is to get them to know that there's hope. We can do it.
And that is very inspiring, because hope definitely will. We need hope.
We do.
We're so stagnant right now. I mean, your opponent has been in office for several terms.
14 long years, we like to say. It's been
Right.
14 years, 14 long years.
Right.
And truly, she's passed one bill during that time, and that was to rename a local post office in North St. Paul. And I can tell you, I can assure you that folks in the district, throughout the district, have bigger issues and concerns than that, from education to jobs. And we really need to get some things done for our district.
Yeah. And so you said bring fresh ideas. Do you have any specific ideas to bring those jobs and those issues where you can benefit the St. Paul and the CD4 constituents?
Absolutely. And first and foremost, I like to emphasize the fact that what I'm willing to do is work across the aisle, left, right, Republican, Democrat, anyone with good ideas. I think we need to work together and accomplish something. I think folks are feeling like Congress, both parties, are spending too much time fighting each other and not getting things done for the people. So first and foremost is working with everyone to get those good ideas and to get them done. With regard to jobs, we know government's not going to just create a bunch of jobs, and we don't want that. But what government can do pretty easily and without spending a lot of money is stop over-regulating. People don't realize the cost and the impact of those regulations is really stifling businesses, particularly small businesses, to the point that it limits their ability to thrive, to hire more people, and to create those jobs. You might not realize, small businesses with 20 or fewer than 20 people spend on average $10,000 or so a year on federal regulation compliance. So think about it. A small company, upwards of $200,000.
Yeah.
How many more employees could you hire? 4 or 5 or more out of a 20-person shop? That's a tremendous amount of additional employment. That's how we get kids, recent grads, and others who are out there struggling to find meaningful work off the couch and into a good full-time job, a good job for everyone. So simply getting government out of the over-regulation business. They don't take it seriously enough and look at the cost of every one of these good ideas. Not every good idea needs to become a law.
Yeah, because I mean, one idea where you help the person realize the cost of all this regulation was with the minimum wage hike.
That's right.
It was interesting where one restaurant actually posted that on the patrons tab, where they could see, oh wow, these do have an impact on the consumer.
Absolutely. I'm aware of that business I think you're thinking about in Stillwater, which is in my district. But that's right, making it clear, being transparent. We talk about transparency a lot. Being transparent, there's a real cost. Here's what it means. Do we want it or not? But we should at least be honest about what the costs are. We're not being honest about the costs of regulation.
Yeah, because I mean the key thing is that people don't realize that these big government laws that your opponent is just going with Obama step by step, in sync, is hurting the local small businesses. You know, as you said, the small business owners hurt. I mean, my parents were California orange farmers. They had an employee to help out with picking the oranges, and those like big government laws hurt us.
They really do.
Yeah, I mean, and
what does it mean to hurt? It means we don't have jobs. We don't have as many jobs. We don't have as many good jobs. That, you know, I think we need to be concrete about it. It's not just it's uncomfortable, it takes time, it wastes money. It results in fewer jobs and significantly fewer jobs.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at 3M, I'm a physician, and you know, part of Obamacare put a medical device tax, you know, on all these things, and eliminates the innovation and the research and the advancement and improvement of healthcare because they're stultified.
That's right.
You know, and I mean, like, it's just, how do you convey that to a person that works at a fast food restaurant that's an 18-year-old? And do you have any campaign events coming up that you can then highlight these things? Or do you have any ways to connect with the 18-year-olds in October when our show's airing?
We absolutely do. We have a couple of candidate forums that they should check out in St. Paul and Stillwater, but also my website is up to date all the time. It's Sharna for Us. Do you like that? Sharna for Us.
I like it.
I wanted everyone to realize I'm for everyone. Sharna and the number 4 us. We'll have campaign events coming up that people could check out and come to. But also, I have been to Bethel, where I know you go to school, and I'm looking to connect with college kids at all of the campuses within the 4th District. There are more post-secondary schools in the 4th District than any other district. So I'm looking to be at every one of those campuses.
Yeah, and Jake, bring us together.
Right,
How are
right.
you going to get the college Republicans in the CD4 chapters?
Well, we're focusing right now, we have a lot of conservative schools in CD4, and there's a lot of conservative schools across the state. People underestimate the conservatism that exists on college campuses, especially when you have a lot of religious colleges like we do in Minnesota. And so we're really pushing the voter registration, voter identification, and voter turnout. I know even over the course of the past couple weeks, we've registered hundreds of voters here in Minnesota, and those are voters that are going to be voting for Republicans. And if we can get people registered to vote on all 21 of our campuses, and if we can identify those Republicans, drive them to the polls, do that sort of thing, then we'll be in really good shape in November.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much to both of you for coming today. I really am inspired. I've read the website. It is a great website. It gives that you played flute and violin. I was a flute player way back in school, so it was fellow flautist.
Wonderful.
You are going to be a winner, and I'm very happy to call you the future Congresswoman from the CD4 district.
Thank you so much for your enthusiasm and support. It means a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Go help her win.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we'll be back shortly with the next part of our segment where we bring to you Zavier Bicott and another college Republican board member, Allie Eichman. Welcome back to our second part of this special election edition episode. So in this part, we bring with you a Bloomington House candidate, Zavier Bicott, as well as another Minnesota College Republican board member, Allie Eichman. So Allie is the chair at St. Cloud's chapter, as well as on the statewide board. Allie, it's very much a pleasure to have you on our show.
Nice to be here. So I'm the political director of the College Republicans this year. I had been on the state board last year as well, kind of in charge of the southern region because I'm a transfer student from St. Olaf, where I was involved in the College Republicans. The past 8 months, I took a little bit of time off. I worked in Washington, D.C. at different nonprofits, so I have a wide range of different experiences. But yeah, it's nice to be here.
Well, thank you so much. And so how is the Minnesota College Republicans actively going out and giving the message that Republicans are young people?
Well, I think one of the things is we've noticed in the past that young people are scared of the Republican brand. So in Minnesota, what we're trying to do is rebrand it in a much more positive way. So a lot of the issues are very controversial, and we have different stances on different issues. So we're kind of taking the stance and the approach that we're a big tent, and everyone is welcome if you believe in limited government, and if you believe in hard work and personal responsibility, you should be going out and voting Republican and getting involved in the Republican cause. And I think one of the problems is also you don't have to agree with the Republican message 100% of the time. But if you agree with us 80% of the time, then welcome aboard.
Right.
So that's kind of what we've been focusing on.
And that's what brings me great pride to hear that refocus where we're inspired by great leaders of the past that helped Republicans win. When I was growing up in the 1980s, we saw Ronald Reagan be able to build the party base to the point that if you looked at people under age 30 at that time, more were Republicans.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is when Ken Cuccinelli ran for Virginia governor, he won the youth vote, and that was just a year ago. And we kind of want the same thing to be happening in Minnesota. We think we can win the youth vote here. It's going to be difficult, but we think we can do it, and it's basically about how we message our organization and the Republican brand.
Great. And that's why I am so inspired to have both you and Zavier here tonight, because with you being on the College Republican board, me still being a member of the College Republicans this year, and also being on the Young Republicans boards with our next guest, Zavier Bicott.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So if you remember, Zavier was on a year ago when he was running for the Bloomington House as city council. And so now he's running for the Bloomington House, in it to win it, and has a great campaign working with you side by side on the Young Republican board. It is so inspiring to see you getting the word out to Bloomington. But for our new viewers who are seeing you for the first time on television, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself and why you're running for this position?
Sure, thank you. So last time I was here in 2013 for Bloomington City Council at large, which is all of Bloomington. This year it's for the State House and 50B, which is about half the size as last time, which kind of makes it a little bit easier for me. But I'm going through talking to some of these same people that I talked to last time. So they're remembering my face, remembering my name, remembering this message that I'm pushing, which is the same as when I was on City Council, which is this message of liberty. And what that means is finding voluntary solutions to state governance. And it's resonating with a lot of people. If you ask people at the door how to solve issues at the city or at the state level, they like this voluntary solution message. The number one issue I hear at the door is, one, stop fighting. They don't like the fighting between parties. And two is jobs in the economy, is finding work. And so it's good because I was listening in this last session about college Republicans graduating, being scared about not having jobs. So we can talk a little bit more about that later. But those are the two main issues I hear at the door, and finding voluntary solutions and having a positive message is what I feel is going to help me win this year.
Awesome.
Yes.
So why don't you give an example of an issue where your opponent is very heavy on government solutions that are ineffective, and where you feel a voluntary issue would be much more beneficial for Bloomington voters?
So the big one here is the Mall of America. And one thing that Ann is the tax chair for the state. So anything that has to do with taxes crosses her desk. With this Mall of America expansion, I go out door knocking, and a lot of voters thought, well, when we built this Mall of America, we thought this was going to lower our property taxes. Well, guess what? It hasn't been happening.
Right.
And so people they're kind of upset about that. But I talked to them a little bit without getting in too much into the boring parts of tax law with fiscal disparities and TIF financing. Right now with the Mall of America, what the policy that has been happening is Ann is saying, well, Bloomington isn't paying for it, so we shouldn't have to worry about it. But I'm not really following that philosophy. I don't think we should be benefiting at other people's expense, and that's really not what government should be doing. So tying it back into how voluntary solutions would work, we shouldn't be taking the tax dollars from our small businesses in Bloomington and giving them to have a millionaire build help expand this mega mall. It really shouldn't be done that way. It should be done voluntarily when they're getting a loan through banks like everybody else, not these hand-me-down carrots where you're dangling it in front of someone who's already a millionaire from Canada. It's not even a local business owner. So to reiterate, what they're doing is they're taking tax dollars from our business owners in Bloomington and giving them to a millionaire business owner from Canada. It just does not make sense to me.
Yeah, and that's what doesn't make sense, is that our opponents incorrectly label Republicans as the big business affiliates, when in reality, what you just say hits the nail on the head. That these Democratic failed policies are targeting these big businesses, and yet they're hurting
the small
businesses. So how do you get that message across? How can the two of you work together to get young people to realize this? I mean, any key points in brand messaging?
I think one of the things is what we've been trying to do, and we're going to hit home with this point, especially after the election, because we're focusing a lot more on helping campaigns right now, but is that right now we're young, lots of us are still on our parents' dime, so a lot of things like the Mall of America, we don't feel that yet, but as soon as we leave college and we have those loans and we have to pay everything on our own, it's going to hit us like a wave, and none of us are ready for that. It's kind of like when you first go off to college and you're not ready for the new amount of work that you're doing. It's going to be like that. So we have to kind of bring this to a level that college students will understand, and that it's going to affect us really, really soon.
Right.
Just if you don't mind me, I did some looking up beforehand, because you had talked a little bit about, hey, let's cover a little bit about student loans, and I did some digging here. Minnesota has the 4th largest student loan debt out of all the states. the average student loan debt is $33,000 per student, and after inflation, if you match that inflation, it's double what they were paying 20 years ago. So just the costs are outrageous. So I did a comparison to the total debts for about a little over $17 trillion as a national debt. $1.2 trillion of that is just student loan debt. And I really do believe that that student loan debt is going to be the next bubble, especially when you have people that are graduating from college that don't have jobs when they graduate. It's really going to be a problem. In Minnesota, focusing on state issues when people are graduating, I was working on a few boards with the Twin Chamber of Commerce on the Government Affairs Committee, and they have jobs available, but there aren't people skilled for those jobs. And so what I see with student loan debt is people are graduating not in the fields where the jobs are. And so that's something we should look at with student loan debt, is if we're going to be subsidizing, if we do decide that we're going to continue subsidizing education, it should be in the fields where we need the workers, not just for everything. So,
and actually, the college Republicans, we're going to be starting something soon about getting more students at trade schools involved. So people with not the typical 4-year education plan, but somewhere 2-year associate programs or trade schools, things like that. We want to get them involved as well. So that's another approach that we're starting this year. So that's kind of along those lines,
awesome.
yeah.
No, that's perfect.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, Zavier, one thing I noticed door knocking last week in a city in between ours, in Richfield, where a lot of our viewers are, some of our strong Republican friends just don't feel motivated to go to the polls. They're like, oh, I usually don't go in November. Convince our viewers. You're going to win, but you need people to go to the polls. And also, are there other ways they can go now when the weather's a little warmer, through early voting?
I think I was going to just took it out.
Oh, God,
you're good. Good job.
Yes.
So one thing that we're doing, and just not even just in my district across the state, luckily, so the Republican Party has victory offices all around the state. I'm very fortunate. We have the Bloomington victory office on 94th and Penn, between Penn and 35W, where we have lawn signs, we have phone banking, we have tablets and iPhones where we're going out and IDing voters and canvassing. One thing that I'm focusing on is I'm not focusing as much on people that are known Republicans or known Democrats. I'm trying to find the people in the middle. So I know a lot of people are in the middle when it comes to politics, I feel, and those are the people that may not be voting because they don't feel motivated. And so really finding out what's important to them. I don't try and tell them how I'm going to run their life as a legislator. I want to find out, I ask them what's important to you. And then that's how I can really try and find these solutions to help with their problems. And that's really resonating well with them.
I want that message to resonate with you, our voters. So thank you so much for coming today. It's an honor to have both of you guys here, being a member of the College Republicans. For my graduate school studies, I started my College Republican chapter in my college campus in undergrad in Los Angeles, so I know what you guys are doing, and it's great to be a supporting member. It's great working with you on the YR board.
Yes, as always.
We have a lot of great activities planned together between our two affiliate Timeline chapters, so get the message out, and we'll see each other out on the campaign trail and with you guys at your victory party November 4th.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great pleasure. So when we return, we will have a recap visit when we bring back Doug Daggett a month later, where we discuss key issues that have arisen since his last interview a month ago. Well, welcome back to our third segment. It's a great pleasure to bring back a guest that we had last month, Doug Daggett. He's running for Congress in our 5th Congressional District. He had a great demonstration of his knowledge and his spirit to win the campaign this November. And we wanted to bring him back to discuss foreign policy, since some new issues have arisen since your last appearance a month ago. And for our viewers who want to see that excellent interview that you did with Tim and Mark, our regular hosts, you can go to our YouTube page where you can see our archive show, or on Doug's Facebook page.
That's right.
Yeah, so Doug,
good.
Welcome back.
Steve, thank you. It's great to be with you, and appreciate you having me in.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
So one key thing that's come up is that in the last month, President Obama has given an address before the nation about ISIS. And I wanted to get your take on that and see how you would differ from Keith Ellison in your positioning.
Yeah. Well, Steve, again, thanks for having me back in. It's great, and you're right. Here in the last month, really since I've been here last, this has happened, where we became aware that 2 of our youth from within the 5th Congressional District had been lured by the terrorist organization ISIS to actually go fight with ISIS in the battlefield of Iraq and Syria, and ended up being killed. And so not only is that obviously a tragedy for the families, but it's a significant and serious national security issue that our youth, that any American citizens are being successfully lured by terrorist organizations to participate in those type of activities. And so that is very concerning. And so again, that just came to light here in the last month since I was last on the show. But what's something, Steve, is that really this is actually nothing new. The recruitment of our youth by the terrorist organizations has been going on for quite some time. And as a matter of fact, even 7 years ago, our federal agents were investigating up to 20 of our youth from here in Minnesota that had been recruited by the Al-Shabaab organization in Somalia at that time, and attracting them to go to the battlefield in Somalia. So these are obviously very concerning things.
And it's great that you're so aware of these concerns, even before, so that when you get elected from day one, you'll be ready to serve our congressional district.
Yeah. Well, and thank you, Stephen. Yeah, a lot of my background in my business career has been in the Middle East as well. Yeah. And I feel very comfortable, obviously, talking with people of all different cultures and backgrounds. And so, in part of my conversations with the people in the Somali community here locally too, the leaders are telling me that it's lack of jobs, it's lack of opportunity, it's lack of a good education, lack of hope that's drawing these youth to fight with ISIS. And so certainly this is a serious condition, and it demands the attention of our congressman. And I'm very concerned that our congressman, my opponent in this election, Keith Ellison, is not taking an active participation in this. My questions that I would have for my opponent, Keith Ellison, would be, what is he doing to try to discourage youth from being attracted to join the terrorist organizations? And I would also ask him what he's doing then to solve those problems that the Somali leaders are saying, such as the education problems and the lack of employment opportunities. Again, these are serious problems that do require the attention of our congressmen. When I talk to our Somali friends, they say that they don't feel that they're getting that attention from my opponent. Rest assured, when the people of the 5th Congressional District elect me as their congressman, I will be focusing on this.
Doug, thank you for bringing this great perspective as to how we can solve this problem by electing you, and that this is an issue that Keith Ellison has had several years over these long terms to fix, and hasn't. So I appreciate you coming back and giving a Republican take that all members, independents, everyone's going to vote for you.
Absolutely, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you. So I appreciate you being part of our special edition. This is the election edition of Republican Roundtable. I'm Steve Darrow. We look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you.